Hello, welcome to Tier Nerd. This is another video where I review anime. So this time around, I have all the anime I've watched that start with the letter B, which, there's not as many. A is a much more popular letter to start words with, but we still have quite a few here. 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we still have a few anime to review here. And some of them are long-running anime, like Bleach, Boruto, Boku no Hero, and Boruto even. Let's see. So where do we start? Let's start with the Bakemonogatari, which is yeah, it's a bit overrated. I think I'll put it in B tier. I can't see myself putting it higher than B tier. If I'm being mean, I would even put it in C tier. But it's just a weird anime. I kind of out there. Um, some anime you watch and you're just like, I don't get it. Like this anime really tried to be unique. Like Bakemonogatari definitely tried to be unique. I can't even really explain to you in words what it's about. Like some anime, like I don't even know how to describe them to you. You would just have to read a description somewhere or just watch one episode. But this is one of the weird ones. At some point, I considered watching all the other Bakemonogatari, follow ups. But this is I've only watched the first season, and apparently it's non-linear and it's out of order. So they really, really tried to confuse you and make you think about this anime. And I would recommend going online and finding out what order to watch them in to understand what is going on in this story. So I only started it. I never really watched past the first season. So I think I'll put it in B, probably low B tier actually. Okay, then we have Berserk. So there's two Berserks I want to review. I'm going to start with the original Berserk, and then I'm going to talk about the newer ones, the newer seasons. So this is one of those times where I do split up anime. Normally, if there's a difference between seasons of anime, then I do split them up into separate categories. So the original Berserk, I think, deserves an A tier. I'm still not sure about giving it an S tier. I do think it's really good. I'm not sure. Like S tier, I'm pretty stingy about handing out S tiers, to be honest. So A tier for anime, yeah, there's not very many I would give an A tier to. Berserk is definitely one of them. Um, yeah, just a great anime. It's a dark fantasy. I'm usually not into like things that are too creepy, but it's not super creepy to the point where it's like horror. But it's definitely on a bit on the dark side, and definitely more of a mature anime, kind of rated R level almost in a lot of cases. But yeah, the original Berserk was really good. Like yes, I understand. Like I didn't watch it until maybe a few years ago, so I only watched it like it wasn't that long ago that I watched it, but I thought it was good and I understood why people ranked it so highly. Now the other Berserk. Now I understand why people don't like the newer Berserk though. The one that came out just a few years ago, many years later, that was supposed to be a continuation of the original Berserk, and they split this one up into two seasons that are kind of short. And this anime used a lot of CGI, and I think that art style really pushed a lot of people away. They said it was poorly handled, and it was just very bad art style. And I understand, like, but what I've noticed a lot is people will rank an anime super low just because they don't like the art style. Like I've seen that quite a lot on the ratings, and I never understood why people will just destroy an anime's rating just because they don't like some of the art style. And even though if the story is good, I don't put such a high emphasis on art style. I put more emphasis on the actual storyline and the storytelling, and the art style and music is more secondary for me. But having said that, it wasn't quite as good. I think I'll even give it B. C. If I ranked it like everybody else, I'd probably give it C or D tier. But I don't think it was quite as bad as people thought it was. But I do understand why they didn't think it was good as the original was, because it wasn't. It wasn't. The follow up, the second Berserk, that was just not as good, and everybody understands that. So I would probably put it maybe like low B tier. So I understand why people didn't like it. It just wasn't as good as the original. Let's see. Then we have yeah. Let's leave all the big leagues. Let's start with the small. Let's finish up the smaller anime before I get to the big ones. Yeah, let's do that. So first, let's do Black Lagoon. Black Lagoon B. I think I'll give it B tier. I think better than Bakumonogatari, but still not very good. Well, it's better, but I don't know. It's just kind of interesting concept. Mafia. You just get this average salary worker, salary man, Japanese salary man that ends up in the mafia. I don't know. Just kind of interesting concept, but so it's kind of cool at the beginning and all that. I never watched the second season. I only watched the first season, and yeah, it was a pretty interesting anime. A little on the dark side, but good. So I think Black Lagoon, maybe B tier. Then we have Bungo Stray Dogs. Now I don't know. I think I'll give it B tier, but honestly, I do feel like this anime is overrated. Yeah, Bungo Stray Dogs is definitely overrated. I don't know if it was quite C tier right now, but it's definitely yeah, it's definitely overrated. I think Bungo Stray Dogs. It started off good. Like the first season, I think thought it was really interesting, but I think the second, later on, it just wasn't quite as good. And I think I only watched the first two seasons. I don't think I ever got around to watching the third season. But yeah, it starts off as an interesting concept. You got some of that the fantasy aspects, the supernatural, but some anime they just drag things out and make just yeah. Um, it's kind of hard. Yeah, it is. I mean, making a good anime is tough, and keeping people's attention is hard. So I understand, but the Bungo Stray Dogs I think it's a bit more on the overrated. It's overrated. Sometimes I look at rankings of anime and I think like, yeah, it's good, but not that good. Or sometimes I look at a bad anime and people think like, "Oh, this is awful," and I'll say, "Well, okay, it's bad, but it's not as bad as people say it is." I feel like people get overly emotional, and instead of trying to look at an anime more objectively. Um, so yeah, and I can tell when people are doing that. So let's see, Black Clover. Yeah, let's do Black Clover. So these next four are like really big anime. Actually, I'm kind of surprised that four big name animes are like all together, all start with B. But yeah, Black Clover. Let's do Black Clover. So Black Clover for me is an A tier. I think it. I don't think it got enough attention. Like I think people thought it was worse than it really was. Like I thought it started off decent. It's kind of like Fairy Tale, just has that same aspect with magic and a giant group. I think it's very similar to Fairy Tale and a lot of how it plays out. And I thought it was decent. I understand maybe it doesn't live up to Naruto or One Piece or something. And I think that's the problem. I think people just kept already expecting this anime to be now Naruto or One Piece or something like. Well, yeah, it's trying to aim there. It hasn't quite gotten to that recognition level, but it's decent. We'll get there someday, hopefully. So I think Black Clover is decent. It's an A tier, and I think it got better at the end of the newer episodes, and I think people started recognizing that, and I started noticing the rankings going up, for Black Clover, and I'm like, well, yeah, it's about time. People started recognizing this actually is a good anime. So yeah, Black Clover is decent. Yeah, I don't have to say. In fact, in some ways, it's better than the One Piece and Naruto and Bleach animes and all of them because Black Clover doesn't pad the show with fillers. Black Clover actually sticks to the storyline. There are very rarely are there filler episodes in Black Clover. The pacing is much better than in One Piece and Naruto. They don't 40% of the show isn't fillers. It's like almost 100% actual content from the manga, which is great. A lot of long running anime, very few long running anime can say that, and very few of them, like Black Clover has a good pace, unlike One Piece, which has to stretch out every single episode, and you only get like 5 minutes of anything worthwhile. Like, Black Clover doesn't really do that, and the few times they did have filler episodes in Black Clover, they actually tried to make them good. like actually good filler episodes, which is very rare, but Black Clover actually managed to do that, which I cannot say the same for, Naruto, for example. So yeah, I mean, basically, I think just people are being overly harsh, but I think it definitely deserves an A tier. Bleach, I don't know, is C tier too mean? Maybe B tier. I think okay. I think it deserves okay. Bungo Stray Dogs. You know what? I think it at least deserves to be maybe. I think it's like mid B tier. Like actually, all of these, like I know I put them in B tier, but they're like low B tier to be honest. Like these are like low B tier. Some of these are, I almost want to put in C tier. But yeah, Bleach. Bleach has a ridiculous number of fillers, and they're very bad fillers. Like yeah, but Bleach fillers are really bad. Like I think they're the worst fillers I've ever seen. I think they're even worse than Naruto fillers. I think Bleach fillers are the worst, and then Naruto fillers and Boruto fillers. Yeah, Boruto fillers and Naruto fillers, I think, are the next level of bad in fillers. Yeah, well, Bleach fillers I remember were particularly awful, but the actual show itself, when the show isn't doing fillers, was decent, especially early on. Very interesting concept and lots of characters, big world, like lots of potential, But the anime just after 366 episodes, the anime got canceled. It just stopped, and because the anime was just dragging things out too much. The anime, the manga was dragging things out too much, so the anime ended up dragging things out too much. So they ended up just canceling the anime just because people lost interest. And so I don't know how Bleach ended. I don't read manga, so I don't know what happened. But from what I did see up until that point, it was mostly decent, mostly good when it wasn't doing fillers. Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, those are all shows that they would have been better if they didn't have fillers. And in One Piece's case, it would be better if they didn't stretch out every episode and make it 2 or 3 times longer than it should have been. So when they stick to the manga, they're great. But the anime doesn't always stick to the manga. They always pad the show. So that's I have to take that into account, and that makes me lower the ranking. So Bleach, I think, is B tier. It's decent when it sticks to the plot, when it sticks to the actual manga. Let's see. Then we got Boku no Hero. Boku no Hero, I think it's A tier. Is it better than Black Clover? I don't know if it's better than Black Clover or not. I can't decide. I really can't. Honestly, it probably is in some ways, but I really can't decide. Like, I think they're about the same for me actually. So Boku no Hero is decent. Like, even though it's currently in its fifth season, but all the quality level between the 5 seasons is about the same. So I don't, I think it's fair to just put it as one anime. So yeah, I think it's solid. It's got the whole superhero concept. It's kind of like the Japanese version of like Avengers or all the All Might is basically Captain America except the Japanese version. So I guess you can call him Captain Japan. But yeah, Boku no Hero is decent. Like I mean, yeah, like it's just a decent anime. Like I'm not a hater or like I don't think it's the best thing ever, but I don't think it's awful. I think it's a just good, solid anime. It's probably going to be on the same level as Naruto and the rest. And then we got Boruto. Now Boruto, man. Okay, so Boruto pads the show so much with fillers that it's ridiculous, like just like Naruto. But the actual content of the anime isn't as good, even when it is sticking to the plot. I actually didn't finish watching it. I think I got up to about 100 episodes. About 2 years ago, I think I stopped watching. I got up to about 100, episode 107 or so, and I kind of stopped because I just couldn't watch it anymore. I have been told that it's gotten better in the last 2 years, and the current episodes are better. If that is the case, it might be a C tier or even a B tier based on what I've seen so far in the first 107 or 109 episodes. It's more of a D tier, and I don't say that about very many anime because Boruto is particularly bad to the point where I just stopped watching it. So Boruto's D. If it gets better, I might put it on C, maybe even B. I highly, from what I've seen right now, I kind of doubt it's going to ever live up to Naruto's level of awesomeness. So I honestly think it's more of a D tier right now, based on what I've seen. It's a D tier. I think a lot of people would agree with me. People that quit the show mostly that it is a D tier anime. So there isn't much to say. It just does not live up to the hype, the legend of Naruto. It just because they just padded it with too much fillers, just too many fillers for long periods of time, and it just with very little content in the actual anime. The actual anime has barely progressed, and the stakes in Boruto just don't seem as high since they're living more like peaceful times. So I think it's affected the story. It's more of like a slice of life anime in a lot of ways. It does not have that same impact that Naruto had. So I mean, it just doesn't have the same power as Naruto. So I mean, it's kind of hard to live up to the expectations of such a great anime. So yeah, that's my ranking of every anime I've watched that starts with B.